Welcome to our introduction webinar for Accufit. Our featured speaker is Dr. Ann Chapas. Dr. Chapas is a Manhattan-based dermatologist and dermatologic surgeon who specializes in laser surgery, Mohs micrographic surgery for the treatment of skin cancers and cosmetic procedures. She is internationally acclaimed for her laser and cosmetic treatments, and she strives to apply the latest scientific research to deliver the best possible care and results for each and every patient. Dr. Chapas is the founder and medical director of Union Square Laser Dermatology, a state-of-the-art center for medical and cosmetic skin treatments that implements her philosophy that for patient safety and the best results, medical dermatologic procedures should be performed only by board-certified dermatologists with specific training and experience in all of these procedures. Dr. Chapas is certified by the American Board of Dermatology, and she is a fellow of the American Society for Laser Medicine and Surgery, the American Academy of Dermatology, the American College of Mohs Surgery, and the American Society of Dermatologic Surgery. She is also a clinical instructor of dermatology at the Mount Sinai Medical Center. We are very fortunate to have her join us and present this introduction webinar for Accufit. I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Chapas.
Thank you so much. And it's such a pleasure to be with you all to talk about this exciting technology. And as you mentioned, I have been practicing in Manhattan for over 15 years. We started the practice downtown at Union Square, and we added a second location this past summer at Central Park. And I've been doing body contouring specifically for over 15 years. And I've seen this whole category of treatments evolve. And certainly with the implementation of muscle devices about 3 years ago, there was a lot of excitement in this area. But I'm not always someone to jump on the bandwagon with the newest, latest, first generation. And I think that I wanted to wait and see how this whole category of muscle definition and muscle treatments were really going to evolve and what were going to be the right treatment strategies in the right patients. And I feel like that patience paid off because now with the new Accufit technology, we really have a breakthrough and a really advance in how we treat muscles for aesthetic purposes. And I'm so excited to discuss that with you today. So we're going to jump into this agenda where we're really going to talk about the muscle body sculpting opportunity, because again, this is a whole new definition in body contouring, a whole new category that we're starting to see multiple devices. And it's really important to understand how these devices work and how to best use them for your patients. We're going to talk about where these devices came from. I get this question all the time, like, wait a second, isn't that what the physical therapist uses? And it's totally different. So it's a whole new category of devices. We're going to talk about all the innovation that went into the Accufit technology and how it really sets it apart from the other devices that are out there. It's important to show all the before and after results of real patients to help you understand what patients to treat and also how to help set expectations for your own patients. We're going to review some of the clinical studies around the specific technology, and we're going to show you how fast and easy it is to perform these treatments. And I'm really happy to share my experience with this. Like I said, it's a whole new category in our office. How did we choose it? How do we market it? How do we perform our consults? These are all things that we've been working on since late last year, and I'm very pleased to show you those results. And then I'm happy to take your questions at the end. So let's take a step back here and talk about the market sculpting market opportunity. And as you know, fitness is a huge business. And really, when we think about it, there's a whole group of industries and products that are really geared to this mind body, as well as cosmetics. And we think about it, this is what we in general call the wellness industry, people who really want to take care of themselves. And we're finding that there's a whole big pent up demand for wellness type treatments, especially during COVID, as everyone's been home for almost a year, and they're really looking for some way to kind of treat themselves, feel better about themselves, and look better as well. And, you know, a lot of this is driven by strong psychological beliefs. And these are reinforced by social media as patients are just constantly on social media. They're home a lot now and they're looking to other images. And unfortunately, social media doesn't make people feel that great about themselves. So, 79% of women, of Americans, I'm sorry, report feeling unhappy about how their body looks. And 88% of women and 65% of men are influenced by the body images that they see in the media. And so what do? Well, we all join health clubs. And unfortunately, health clubs in New York are kind of hard to go to right now. You have to make reservations. There's limited number of people that can be in them. We have been shut down to all group classes for over a year. And that's caused a lot of us to then go and do online classes. Like I did today, I did my glow.com app at home to do my Pilates class and my yoga class. But what I see in myself and what I see when I talk to a lot of my patients is that you never put in the amount of work that you would have done in a live in-person class. At home, you definitely slack a lot. And certainly I think people don't do the recommended amount of weight training that they're supposed to be doing is 2 times a week. And we're all really feeling out of shape. So there's really a huge opportunity to help patients regain their shape, regain their form, and the safety and in the safe environment like the doctor's office, and in a much more efficacious way than going to a trainer, 5 times a week. So let's kind of come back to the very beginning here and think about, the early devices and how they've really evolved to the aesthetic devices that we have today. And I think what's so fascinating is that indirect muscle stimulation has really been around since ancient times, and that these treatments date back to the Egyptian and Roman culture, where they discovered that fish carrying electrical charges could be used for pain management on the neck and on the feet. So they knew already that that electricity was kind of how our muscles reacted, and they were using it in a way to try to make people feel better. And then the direct electrical stimulation, or EMS as it's called, became popularized in the 60s through the Russian space program and also training of the Russian Olympic team. But these devices were really painful. You can see them. These were kind of like home devices that you wrap around. You had your own electrical controller there. And they were limited to kind of prevent muscle wasting under zero gravity. They really weren't meant to make people look better. And then as we moved into more magnetic stimulation, or what's called functional magnet stimulation, or FMS, these were developed to treat areas either around or under bones, such as transcranial stimulation, or they were used for the pelvic floor. And then as we know, in 2018, they became modified for aesthetic use and were called high fem. And then finally, we get up to the new modified direct electrical stimulation devices. These happen to be more painful than the functional magnetic stimulation because they had to use a lot more energy to stimulate the muscle. But they allowed for increased types of muscle movement for better targeting than we could get with just magnetic stimulation. And this was then repackaged for aesthetic use in 2019. Now, in the aesthetic muscle stimulation market, there are 3 main devices. The high fem generation 1 device is called high fem, and there's a picture up here in the left. And this was a repurposed physiotherapy device that was used for aesthetic use. It uses a magnetic field to bypass the skin surface, and it allows for strong contraction of the muscle without pain. It's really limited to a single direction muscle movement, so it just contracts, contracts, contracts. And it's non-specific, so it should really only be used for large muscle groups. And the generation 2 aesthetic muscle stimulation devices, we have what's known as modified EMS. And this was a repurposed salon device and some repurposed home devices. Again, these have been out in the market for some time. But what they did was they were able to make it more direct stimulation, more specific and more targeted to the muscles. And it was allowed to contract in 2 different directions. It did have a stronger skin sensation, greater than 30%. And most patients could only accept that energy or tolerate that energy to a limited amount, up to 30 milliamps. And now I would say that generation 3, which is the Accufit system, has really been an improvement and a perfection over the previous EMS devices. It has several features that make it a breakthrough, including the electrode design, which can deliver 100 milliamps directly to specific muscle groups. It allows for a full range of 4 muscle movements, not just 1 or 2. And it has advanced modes with intelligent treatment cycles. And again, it's comfortable at a range of higher energy levels. The thing that really sets these devices apart are applicators and the electrode-skin interaction. And I think that's something, you know, as we get into many different devices, what gets in contact with the skin and how well that's made really can affect how well the treatment can be performed. So in high FEM, we have this magnetic field on the left side that creates a direct single direction muscle contraction. As I mentioned, it bypasses the skin surface, so there's no heat or any sensation on the skin surface. And it's used in these large applicators, as you see here, are put over large muscle areas because they're non-specific and they can contract only in one direction. When we move forward to the MDS systems here in the middle, these were repackaged EMS systems that use a solid TrueSculpt electrode designed through a hydrogel. So you put the hydrogel on the surface and then the TrueSculpt electrode on the top. It had a high edge effect, so it limits how much the current could deliver through the center to less than 30 milliamps. And it could only make 2 movements. The electrodes must be moved if you wanted to make the body twist or change the movement. On the right-hand side is really the breakthrough in the IntelliStim technology, which is a patented proprietary radial microelectrode design. As you see at the top of these electrodes, these are about hundreds of mini electrodes that are made in a radial pattern from the center out. And they're specifically designed to evenly distribute the current to the muscle from the center to the edges. So not just the whole muscle, but kind of in the way that the muscle should react. And it has 4 axes of movement without needing to move the electrodes. So again, the number of muscle movements matters because how we work out and how we train our muscles affects how the results are going to appear. So in high FEM, which is on the left side, you have a single axis contraction, as you see what's happening here. It's just like they say in their marketing, you're doing 50,000 sit-ups in 30 minutes. But I've been to lots of gyms and I've never had a professional trainer say only do sit-ups. They want me to do twists, they want me to do planks, they want me to do stretches. You never want to just repetitively do one thing over and over again. So the second type of treatment, the MDS, came up with multi-directional stimulation, but it has only 2 real waveforms and an axis of movement. Otherwise, it requires repositioning. So basically, it's repeating a sit-up and a twist, and with sit-up with a twist and stretching over and over again in the different prep and tone sculpt modes. Finally, in the IntelliPhase, as you can see on the right here, you have 4 unique and completely different waveforms and 4 axis movements. You can do all 4 movements without having to change the electrodes in a 30-minute treatment. You can do a yoga twist, you can do a strength hold like you see in the far right upper corner, you can do a grip strength for sculpting, and then you can do a massage and tapping. So now that you understand the differences between the aesthetic muscle devices, I want to go into more detail about how the Accufit is specifically unique. So as I mentioned before, it has several unique features that were developed that really give an effective treatment in only 30 minutes. It specifically has 2 channels of 8 electrodes and 2 times the power of commercial systems up to 100 milliamps. So it eliminates potential issues with any deep field collateral effects. Its 3 main features, the IntelliStim, the IntelliPhase, and the IntelliCycle, will be discussed in more detail. And that's really why this device is so unique and so specific for your patients. So getting into the first one is the IntelliStim technology, which is really the proprietary design of how their electrodes are made to deliver the most efficient muscle contraction. So if you look down at the bottom, the true innovation in the electrode design was to create a stimulation that really has a top hat delivery system. So it maximizes the energy transfer throughout the skin without affecting the skin, and it increases the muscle contraction with a lower overall energy. So you get this lower overall energy, but a more consistent contraction throughout the muscle. Whereas lower quality electrodes can create a lot of spikes and a lot of discomfort and not a smooth contraction along the muscle. The other important feature is the IntelliPhase design versus just a typical MDS treatment. The IntelliPhase design features 4 unique treatment modes. It has a twist, which is again, like the yoga stretching, it effectively warms up the entire muscle area. It has a hold, which really gives that deep strengthening, that positive, negative crunches, and it really increases the endurance of the muscle and the size of the muscle. You have a mode down at the bottom that creates a grip or a sculpting mode, which really isolates muscles and works at all angles for better muscle definition. And then finally, you have a tap mode, which is more of a medical grade massage, which is used to increase the flow and recovery before the cycle repeats again. The patients will feel these cycles repeating, and it kind of goes through a very natural progression that's very comfortable. But it's really important that when you do the treatments, and we'll get more into that you see all of these modes happening, that the patient feels the modes happening, because that's how you know the electrodes are in the right place and they're getting the right treatment. And then finally, as we were talking about the IntelliStim, which is the right electrodes, the IntelliPhase, which is that unique muscle movements, which is kind of being replicated here, and the IntelliCycle, which is really that these treatments are interlaced over all 4 axis movements, and they're completely automated in the treatment section. It goes from the twist to the hold to the grip to the tap over and over again throughout the cycle. You don't have to touch it. Once the patient gets to the right setting that they're comfortable with it, you can really set it and forget it. So over those 30 minutes, the patient can relax in the room. Usually they have a phone, or they're taking a nap, or they're maybe even prepping for another treatment they might be doing in the office that day. So I think, pictures say 1,000 words. So let's get into what types of results we can get with the Accufit device. This was one of our first patients. This was a patient who is 40 years old. He works out regularly, but he wanted to have better definition. No matter how much he works out, he can never quite achieve the muscle definition that he wants. So we performed his treatment we did it 2 times a week for 30 minutes for 2 weeks for a total of 4 treatments. And this is his 1-month follow-up photo. So already at 1 month follow-up, he has great definition of his muscles. We anticipate that these results, based on the study we're going to get into, get better and better over the course of 3 months. But when you talk to these patients, and specifically when I ask this patient, he just says he hates doing abs, but now he does his abs better. He has so much more strength. He's so much more confident in when he's doing these exercises that he hated to do before, and that he wants to, continue his treatments and maintain his results. And then this was another woman who was very fit when she was younger, but now she's a busy working professional and really couldn't get back into the shape that she wanted to be in. Especially as she's been busy working so much during COVID. I think what's so fascinating about some of these pictures, and again, I've only had the device for a couple of months, where I'm getting to see these early results, which I have to tell you was not what I anticipated. I actually thought it would take much longer to see any kind of meaningful visual results, and that it really would just be the patients felt better. But what we're really seeing are these early results after 3 treatments. What I see in this patient, what I've seen in a couple others, is really this flattening of the stomach. It's almost like a skin tightening procedure for a lot of these patients as they have a better foundation of their muscles, as their muscles have become firmer, a little bit larger, just like it's made a better foundation for their skin and their fat. So they look not only tighter, but they look fitter. And just like as we talk about on the face, when we do aesthetics, we're creating a scaffolding a lot of times with filler. I truly believe that these muscle treatments are creating a scaffolding for the rest of our fat and our skin on our body, which is giving a much more pleasing aesthetic result. I think we're seeing that again here, again, after 4 treatments. This was done at the Lutronic clinic. But you see that really great muscle definition, especially in the lower abs, which I find is an area that has been really difficult for many women, especially after children, to achieve. This is her side view. You can really see how much definition she's achieved. And here's a male picture. Again, I think what's remarkable is not only just the definition here, but also those lats. It's so hard to get the lateral sides and the love handle areas. And this is a great treatment for really optimizing that. And again, here he looks just tighter overall. It's something we keep seeing, is that not only is it a muscle treatment, but it just improves the overall appearance of the skin. Another picture, this reminds me a lot of the picture from my office. And what I like about seeing more and more of these pictures is this is not a one-off phenomenon. This is a repeatable treatment. It can be, you know, once your office is trained in it, it's something, and you learn how to mark the patient. This is reproducible, and it's something that many patients can benefit from. And another one here, this is a picture of a woman. And this woman, from what I recall, was also treated in the Lutronic clinic. And she is a mother of 3 children. And again, I think what's fascinating is the improvement in skin laxity that these patients are improving. You can see that even in her side view, just overall, the skin has become a lot tighter as the muscle definition, as the muscles become more defined. These are some of the pictures that were done as part of a clinical study that we're going to get into. And I think they're quite fascinating, because they're not only showing that the muscle thickness increases after 4 treatments by 28% or by 1.35 centimeters, but that the fat thickness actually decreased by 15%. And we've seen this in other studies as well. And there's no evidence that these muscle devices directly affect the fat. All the energy is being directed to the muscle. But I think what's really happening, as I see before, is that the muscles themselves, as they grow, they're compressing the fatty layer. They're making it smaller as we see it. And so we get a better result on the fat as well. There's also a thought that maybe it's increasing fat metabolism, but I really think it's kind of the muscle itself starting to displace this fatty layer. Again, another same situation here, whereas after 4 treatments, the fat layer reduced by 22%, as the muscle layer increased by 30%. And again, I think this is really fascinating, that we can make such a change in a layer that we weren't even targeting. But I think it speaks to the fact that, again, the muscles are the foundation for the rest of for how our skin and everything else drapes on our body. This is the white paper that's currently being put together for publication that reference those first 2 images come from. So this was a 29 subject IRB approved study where all the patients had 4 treatment sessions with the Accufit device over 2 weeks. All 90% of the patients had reported satisfaction with their treatment. 4 of the patients had ultrasound studies before and after the 4 treatments. And of these patients, there was a 20% average an increase in their muscle thickness at 3 months, and a 30% average decrease in the fat layer thickness after 3 months. So although I'm seeing some early results in my practice, and as I showed you, and I keep seeing them in my practice, we're following our patients at 1 month, and we expect them to be at their peak response at 3 months. What's also important to talk about here was the safety of the treatment. All the patients tolerated the treatment well throughout all the sessions, and there's no discomfort or any side effects after the treatments. Patients can return to all their normal activities. So now that you've seen the results, you've seen the data, I really want to get into some of the best practices that we've kind of put together in our office. It started with, us trying out the technology and understanding it, and then having the trainer come to train all of us for the treatment. And this is, typically what we will do is just prepare the patient. First, we mark them, and then we place these tegaderms on the skin, which help to just keep the electrodes where you want to place them. And the electrodes are put on in a very specific way so that they can interact together in order to make all those twisting motions that we talked about previously. So you want to make sure that they're in the right spots directly over the muscles that we want to stimulate. And then the patient is wrapped in the supportive wrap. And this is the patient, I'm going to not speak on this part, but she's going to kind of describe what she feels once she's been wrapped up and how she's feeling those twist, hold, grips, and caps.
I love that because I can feel it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Engagement, and that's still only on the 40.
I'm feeling really like my stomach is a corset. Like really, the abdominals are like being tightened pulled together pretty intensely, but not uncomfortably. This one feels like I'm being alternating sides. It feels like my bottom and my sides are being sort of pulled together. It's a really deep contraction. I like it. I feel like I'm getting cells as we speak. Feels like lots of little hard fingers sort of feeding on me a little bit in a good way.
And that's, what I love about that is that, you see it happening, the patients see it happening. They really, feel like they're getting this effective 30-minute workout that we've been telling them about. And I know that looks really crazy. When we first started doing it too, the patients kind of jump in that first treatment because it's so unexpected to be moving your body that way. I have to assure you all, this is not painful in any way. For those of us who had kids, it reminded us, oh, is this like having a contraction during pregnancy? It's like that in that it's coming, you're not making it happen, but it's nowhere near uncomfortable or painful. It's actually quite relaxing. So I wanted to get into our experience in our practice. As I said, like we're new to this whole category of treatment, as well as new to the device. So I think it's important to kind of talk about our experience and how it could apply to new practices adopting Accufit. I think the first thing we were trying to figure out is who are the good candidates for these treatments. But really, I think most people in your practice are going to be good candidates. In New York, people are fit forever. I have 90-year-olds who work out every day. So although it could be targeted to a more younger demographic, I think this could be a benefit to many different types of patients. Especially, I've even had some patients who recently had knee surgery or other kinds of procedures, and they really can't go to the gym right now, but they can come and still work on their abs. Patients, though, should be pretty fit. If you have a large fat layer above the area that's going to be treated, it's going to be hard to stimulate the muscle effectively and to see a really meaningful result. So patients should ideally have a BMI under 30 or be closer to about 20% of their ideal weight, and really only have about 1.5 to 1 inch of body fat over the area that's being treated. We do want people to maintain their fitness level. So this is not a, eat cookies because I did Accufit. Like, this is, you should be doing all your normal things. And you should kind of reiterate that a lot of people feel even stronger and better doing their normal workouts. I've had this treatment myself. I know my Pilates is so much better now because I've been doing my abdominal Accufit series. You just feel much stronger, much more solid doing those movements. And I think patients really appreciate that. So what do we talk to our patients about? One, we wanted to make sure that our staff knows a lot about it. So we've actually treated a lot of our staff members. We made sure that they've had treatments. They know how to talk about it. They can talk about, that it doesn't hurt, that it helps to tone the muscles, that it helps you feel stronger and look better. We always want to personalize the consult to the interest of the patients, especially because there are multiple areas that can be treated with Accufit. So we really want to help them figure out which areas are they most concerned about. And we really are hoping that this will bring in a lot of new patients, as well as be of interest to our existing patients. We really want to talk about, what's their motivation for treatment, what's their budget for treatment, and which areas they want to talk about. And also talk about that this is a little different than fat treatments. Fat treatments, can, have long-term effects on the fat layer, cryolipolysis, RF devices. These all cause apoptosis in the fat cells, which usually have a long-term reaction. With muscle stim devices, the muscle is stimulated and grows for about 3 months. So patients do need to understand that there'll be a maintenance program if they want to maintain their results. And then we want to talk about those combination treatments that could also really enhance the appearance of the area. It's not just muscle. Body contouring is also about, reducing subcutaneous fat. It's about improving the appearance of the skin or treating skin laxity. And certainly now with cellulite devices and cellulite injectables, this is a huge part of the equation as well. So why did we choose Accufit for the practice? Well, one, we tried a lot of them out, and it was definitely the favorite of all the people who tried it. I felt that this is now an area of technology that's come a long way, and that a lot of the kinks have been worked out, and that this 3rd generation intelligent technology has really optimized it so that it's easy to use. It only takes 30 minutes. Space matters here in New York. I can't have a patient occupy a room for an hour. It just doesn't work, even a big office like ours. We wanted something that was versatile, that could target all the different modes of a complete workout without muscle fatigue. And we wanted something that had pretty minimal expenses. This is, we're all looking at our budgets these days, and consumables definitely take up a lot of the practice budget. And so figuring that out in a new device is extremely important. And, we are familiar with Lutronic and the wonderful devices that they brought to market, and their continued effort to improve their technology and really build on the quality devices and their reputation for taking care of their technology that's out in the marketplace. So how do we market Accufit? This is, something that's a whole new category. And I think that's also something, although we do body contouring, I wouldn't say that muscle treatments are something that we really knew how to market. So we really had to, look at this as a whole different type of treatment. One, we're seeing a lot of millennials back to the practice. Unfortunately, in New York, the COVID, hit us early and really affected our seniors. And many of them were not able to come back to the office for quite some time, and they are starting to come back now thanks to the vaccines. but it was really the millennial patients that kind of sustained the practice during the more significant impact of the pandemic. So millennials are interested in anything to help. They want experiences. They like things that are visual, like we just showed at how it works. And so we're really doing a lot of social media campaigns around this. The shutdown in the gyms is a big deal. Defining your muscles in a safe way without having to go to the gym. Unfortunately, you know, gyms are still one of those big areas where COVID can spread. And that's even as the numbers go down, there's still going to be a risk going to the gym. So this is a way that people can be safe. They can jumpstart their fitness routine till they can go outside and work out again. They can really advance their fitness routine and really get those stubborn areas that they hate to treat, like my first patient that I showed you. It's more comprehensive. We can do multiple modes, we can do multiple areas, and then we're working with Lutronic and their digital marketing efforts to reach and target more patients. These are some of the examples of some of the things we've done on social media and what we're doing in our office. I think Emsculpt has a lot of brand recognition right now. So we kind of talked about how Emsculpt and Accufit are different. We're certainly posting our before and after pictures. Our post of that patient on January 25th got a lot of buzz. I had a lot of people texting me directly about these amazing results. And then the other thing we're doing, and I would highly recommend, is I don't have a lot of marketing in my office right now. We got rid of all the magazines. We don't have brochures out, but we did put really nicely made signs in all the rooms, just in a very small plastic placard near where patients would see them, because it sparks the conversation. I mean, a patient who's coming in to get Botox isn't necessarily going to talk to you about their weakened abs or their weakened legs or their weakened buttocks. This really has sparked a lot of conversations when we're doing other procedures to talk about the Accufit system. And then this is a patient testimonial that you can also use. I think real world experiences speak to other patients.
So I'm a 43-year-old mom of 3, and I had 3 C-sections. And when obviously having that many babies, my stomach was kind of stretched out. I was a competitive ice skater, and I was in my 20s. I had a really, really tight core, but obviously having the children, it stretched things out. And what's really cool is that when I first started the treatment, like my stomach, when I would lean over, would hang. And now, like, it's not back to where it was when I was 20, but it was definitely a huge improvement to the point where my husband noticed and can't believe how flat my stomach got. And I'm pretty happy with the results. And it's easy. Being a mom of 3, I have no time to work out anymore. And to be able to come in and just do a treatment and then to get the results as if I did exercise, it's pretty cool.
And I love that. I mean, I think a lot of the pictures you see in this marketing, as you see here, is very aspirational. But I really find these real world, real people examples, go a long way to speaking directly to my patients and coming in and wanting to try these treatments. And I am a business owner, and this is super important. Anytime I decide to bring in new technology into the office, is how much is it going to cost to purchase it? How much is it going to cost to maintain it? How much are the consumables going to cost? And what is going to be my return on the investment? And I think with Accufit, one, I think the most important thing is it comes with enough consumables and preset treatment hours to help the practice generate over $100,000 before you need to reorder the consumables. And the only consumable you're ordering is the applicators, those electrodes that go on the patient. So it's not something that you're always going to run out of the cars or you're going to run out of the stickies. All the stickies are always included. Those wraps are included. The only thing you're going to have to purchase, and this is after, you've made $100,000, are the new applicators. So in general, Accufit is an innovative next generation muscle technology. It specifically targets the abdominals, the obliques, the buttocks, and the thighs. There is low to zero skin sensation because of the breakthrough electrode design technology. There's multiple treatment modes and simultaneous targeted treatments that your patients can see and feel and know are being activated. And it's automatic. You don't have to stay with the patient once you reach that area that they're comfortable. It runs through its predefined cycles in the specific area that you placed it. And again, there's no physical disposable or a card or an online tax or any of those things that make these devices difficult once you purchase them. Thank you so much for listening. I am happy to answer any of your questions.
Great. Thanks very much, Dr. Chapas. Very well done. And I agree. I think some of those videos, some of the patient testimonials help to bring it home, because really it comes down to patients wanting to feel like they have a satisfying result. I'm going to try to do my best to work through a couple of questions that we tend to come in here. I'll just read them off, and maybe just we can run through a selection of them here.
Sounds good.
One question, maybe this makes sense because it's sort of a little bit of an order, is how have you seen, I think you described it early on, just your perspective about watching the muscle stimulation market sort of since 2018, and what have you noticed and observed as you kind of went into the pandemic and now we're slowly coming out of the pandemic? What is your perspective on where this market is headed for muscle stimulation?
Well, I think we're really poised to take off here. I think this is something we're talking a lot about now. At the upcoming ASLMS meeting, I'm running the meeting. I got to give a plug for that. So please tune into that. There's going to be a lot of discussions about muscle. It's really becoming, from a one-off technology to becoming a more mainstream technology in the body contouring realm. But I think it's important, like I said, to understand how these different things work and who are the right candidates. And as we're coming in after a year of everybody being indoors and not being able to do their normal things, they're ready to get back to their normal things. And certainly as we're having a couple warm days here in the Northeast, people are thinking about summer. And this is the number one thing to do to get yourself back in shape for your summer routine.
Terrific. Another question is, which maybe couple, if there's maybe one or two differentiating product factors that really led to your decision to investing in Accufit? Could you just review maybe the top two things that you thought?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things that really prevented me from doing these treatments is that I don't have the space. I mean, I have two big offices, so I feel bad saying that. So I have two big offices. We have over 22 exam rooms. But I can't really have a patient, hooked up to a device for an hour in an exam room, or have to have a staff member who's there subtly adjusting it, every time that they're feeling it change or move or they're uncomfortable. So that was one of my big considerations is, one, I have to have the space. Two, are patients going to do the treatment? Even now with people working from home, it's sometimes hard to tell patients, you have to come in, 8-9 times for a treatment to see the results. I like that they could see results after only a couple of treatments. They could feel the results only after a couple of treatments. I like that it was a 30-minute treatment that really, like I said, could have the patients come in and out, or even be doing their treatment while they're waiting in the office for a numbing cream to work for another treatment or so. So it really has, that was one of the main considerations. And then certainly the ease of the technology, that was huge. There's not, a lot of gel or goop or mess or anything that goes with it. The tegaderms are very easy to place on. The wrap's very elegant. Everything, fits very nicely. It's a small device. Those were some of the things that from our initial trials, we were all very impressed with.
Terrific. And how do you position, I know that the 4-treatment, 30-minute is pretty well accepted, but how do you sort of position that with your patients when they, inquire about Accufit? And also, if you can maybe share perhaps a range or how you approach the patient charge. I know Manhattan prices are probably different than they are in other parts of the country, but maybe you could speak to that as to how you position and price your treatments.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we're doing is we're trying to make it easy for patients to do the treatment. So even though it's 4 treatments, ideally 2 a week, you could really stretch them out to 1 a week. And also, instead of, you're not really booking my time, you're booking the machine time. So patients can really come in early in the morning until late in the day, even on Saturdays where we have office hours. So they can really find a time to come in and do the treatments that really work for their benefit. We've offered, we believe this is a series of 4 treatments. And although almost everything I do in my office is priced per treatment, that's laser hair removal, that's, resurfacing. We just believe, the philosophy that not, you should price things per treatment. You never know how many treatments someone's going to need. But in this situation, because it is a specified 4 treatment protocol, we do price all 4 treatments at the time of their first session. And then we discussed with them at their last session and even at their consults, the recommendation that they should do a treatment every quarter. And we have pricing either per treatment or if they want to do a quarterly membership. And then even for those patients who are, I have patients now that are like, I want to do this every month. So we've even started a monthly membership for those patients that really want to come in on a more regular basis.
Terrific. That's interesting. I noticed there's a few other questions I guess I probably can skip, but some people actually mentioned the concept. Sounds like you're already trying something, the so-called medical gym membership. So that'll be sort of interesting to see how that evolves.
Yeah.
I notice a lot of clients are asking about that.
Yeah, it's out there. And again, it's something that takes a little bit of training with your staff because, we're not in the business of selling memberships. We're in the business of treating patients. So that's taken a little bit of finessing, but I think once you get it right, it really helps your patients.
Great. There's a lot of questions I'm seeing that people ask about the so-called patient demographics. And and I know that you probably have patients that are already in your practice versus maybe the patients that haven't been to your practice yet. I don't know how you divide that, but are there sort of demographic groups that you're trying to target, and have certain groups turned out to be ideal so far in the early going?
Well,
Maybe
I think we're a little too soon to say that in my practice because we're really just, right now, I think most of our patients are already existing that have been trying this technology. But I will say it's been a range of ages. It's been men and women. I mean, it does kind of make me go back to the first cryolipolysis days where, one of the cool things about cryolipolysis was that it wasn't your typical I'm anti-aging patient or aesthetic patient. It was, men, it was women, it was people who just wanted to feel better about their body and be in shape. So I think we're going to see this in the muscle category too, that it's not your typical aesthetic, anti-aging patient. It's really a broad range of people.
Excellent. One question I suppose is interesting, and maybe it depends on how you're set up in both of your practice locations. Someone's asked the question about who operates the devices or who generally operates the devices for treatment in your 2 practices.
Yeah, so we're physician directed practice, which means the physicians do almost all of our treatments. And what that involves is really just, marking the patients before the treatment, having them lay down, as you saw in the video, apply the applicators, watch for that contraction and that first twisting motion so that we're at the right session, set the energy level that they're comfortable, and then that's it. I mean, so, we do have our medical assistants and nursing team check on them throughout the 30 minutes, but no one has to stay in the room with them. It's very easy. There's nothing to adjust throughout the treatment. It's very easy to operate.
Terrific. Just maybe 2 more questions. One is, how do you go about combining? I know you mentioned in the presentation about combining some of these other body contouring treatments, whether it's fat or cellulite or other, skin tightening. Have you had any experience yet in the way of what may be good combination treatments for certain patients?
Yeah, we have. We offer lots of different body contouring, whether they're cryo based or heat based or RF needling based or other types of treatments. And so I do find that the heat based devices can be performed first. And then we did muscle devices after. We did Accufit after and had good result with that. But for the cryo devices, I prefer to do the Accufit first and then cryolipolysis after. And I would say also, if I'm doing any kind of RF needling, I would do the Accufit first and then the RF needling on top. So, you know, I think it's just different ways you think about it. Usually we want to treat the deepest layer before we treat the skin. But when you're looking at hot and cold, you want you have to be careful about how you combine those things.
Interesting. Okay, that's helpful. The last question, Dr. Chapas, I'll sort of reword this a little bit. It's, I guess basically, do you foresee any advancements in either protocols or new treatment areas soon with the Accufit?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that was the other thing that I was very excited about when we looked at this device, was that, you know, it can be, you know, started to target to other areas. I know they're working on arm treatments. There could be other applicators that will eventually become available. You could, you know, like I said, have opportunities for other body treatments as well. So this is it's a third generation device, but it won't be the last generation. But from what I know with Lutronic, you know, you guys continue to advance your devices and optimize them.
Terrific, terrific. Well, thank you again for hanging on for some of the questions. We really appreciate your participation in this, and it's so nice to hear your experiences, and then to be able to share that as well with existing clients and obviously anyone else interested in the Accufit. So again, Dr. Chapas, thank you very, very much for your for joining us during the webinar, and thank you for those that attended. We appreciate your attention, and everyone have a good evening.